the biggest moment of the movie is at the end when Gwen dies. That was like, I remember growing up watching that for the first time. I could not believe that actually happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Because you think all these movies, they always save them last second.
Yeah. Alrighty, where to begin with this one? Revisiting the Amazing Spider-Man movies. What's kind of your initial thoughts on these movies, like before the rewatch?
Yeah, before we watch it, I've only watched them, I think, fully like once, honestly, both of them.
Yeah.
And then, because I didn't watch them when they first came out in theaters, it was kind of like a year or two after. Yeah, then I've seen bits and pieces, clips here and there, but yeah, nothing really. Just overall, like I did like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, just his movies I didn't really like enjoy too much, at least before rewatching now. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like these movies are extremely slept on. I feel like they're extremely underrated. Now, I don't think they're the greatest thing ever, but I don't think they're the worst movies ever, how people make them out to be. I think he kind of fell victim to when everybody grew up with Toby, they looked at Toby as Spider-Man. And it's kind of almost one of those things like how, like a Robert Pattinson gets recast as Batman and people don't think he's going to be as good as like a Christian Bale or a Ben Affleck, so they don't really give it a chance. I think kind of the same thing happened to Andrew here in a sense, where like they didn't want to give these movies a chance and they just trashed them instantly because they're like, oh, it's just not going to be as good as Toby. It's not going to be what we grew up on. So I always kind of like these movies because I didn't really grow up on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. I rewatched those down the line. Like I didn't get into superhero movies until like start of the MCU and like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
So like 2008-ish. So when these came out when did these come out? Like 2013, 2015?
2012, 2014.
2012, 2014. Yeah. So I watched these in theaters as they came out and I never thought they were as bad as people make them out to be.
Yeah, definitely after rewatching now, I think they're better than what I thought or what I thought they would be. You know, I definitely thought they, especially more of just the action, like flying scenes for sure, the web scenes. Yeah, those were fire.
I'm telling you, his swinging scenes, and I think he has even the best fight choreography. Like there's moments where he's like flipping and swinging around, like in the second one when he's slow-mo saving people that are about to touch the handrails and stuff from Electro and things like that. And even in the first one, he has that scene where like his mask gets ripped off when Captain Stacy like learns his identity for the first time, and he's in that like helicopter spotlight and he's like flipping around. Just like the choreography of those fights, I think he has the best choreography and the best swinging scenes
of all
out of Toby and Tom.
Yeah, I need to rewatch Tom again. I feel like I've watched those like years, and I do like those movies a lot. But yeah, I do kind of want to compare now after watching this. Yeah, I feel like we got to rewatch those too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
especially before Brand New Day. I feel like it reminded me of the video game too, even though the video came out in like 2018. Yeah, but those like kind of like the ones where he comes like all the way up out of the air and does a little flip. Yeah, like that happens in the game all the time.
Does some corkscrew spins. I'm telling you.
But yeah, this came before the game. Obviously,
the swinging scenes are fire from Andrew. I'm telling you.
And then I think he is probably the best actor of the three. I think he's over Toby. I think Tom's a good actor too.
Tom's a great actor, but yeah, I feel like he runs circles around him, and I feel like we saw that in No Way Home. I just feel like as Spider-Man, as a character, as Peter Parker, he's just running circles around them in that movie.
Yeah, I think like, Toby's a really good like Peter. But like as Spider-Man, I think he's like lacks a little bit. I think like Andrew Garfield is a really good Spider-Man. I think as Peter, he's good.
Here's the problem with him as Peter is a lot of people that complain that he's not nerdy enough.
Yeah,
people say he's like the too cool pretty boy. Like in the first one, he's like skateboarding around the hallways and stuff, and he's like too cool.
Yeah,
for
like a nerd.
How they want Peter Parker to look, which is real nerdy. So
I feel like Tom is like a perfect balance of the two. Like he might not be as a good Spider-Man as like Andrew, but I think he's a better Peter for sure.
Yeah, he's kind of in between. Yeah, I'd probably I hate to put Toby at third as far as like who's best at playing Spider-Man, but I'm telling you, even at the beginning of Amazing Spider-Man 2, like I know a lot of people always compliment Andrew on like the joking around he does as Spider-Man. Like that's real comic book accurate
for sure
to be joking around as he's
every Spider-Man
under the
movie,
mask.
Has that.
Yeah.
Even in the Brand New Day trailers, like before Brand New Days come out, but you see a bunch of joking scenes and already the trailer. That's always it's a big, obviously pivotal point of Spider-Man.
Yeah. So I feel like he kills that aspect of the character. Let's kind of get into it and kind of break down the movies here of what we thought about each one. So starting with the first one.
Yeah, the first one right away kind of brings up the disappearance of his parents. That's something in Toby and Tom's we've never
explored really. Yeah, we haven't even dove into that with Tom at all.
Yeah, his parents.
Yeah, where did his parents go? What happened to his parents? Why is he living with Aunt May? He doesn't even have an Uncle Ben.
Exactly. Yep.
Even in Toby's movies, just rewatching those recently, they don't talk about his parents at all, from what I
Yeah.
really remember. And it's more just he's already living with Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and
Already
obviously we
sees
get
them
to
as
see,
sees them as his parents, pretty much. Yep.
yep, and we see the famous Uncle Ben death scene in that, but we don't even get that from Tom. Obviously, I think the way they're kind of explaining that away now with the alternate timelines and stuff is just that, like you kind of saw it in No Way Home when they were all three of them were talking on the rooftop of the school together when he meets Toby and Andrew for the first time.
Yep.
Yep, they're all kind of talking about the different lines that they've heard, like the great power comes great responsibility. Like he obviously had Aunt May say it, and then they're talking about who they've lost because Andrew talks about how he lost Gwen, and
Yeah.
then Toby's talking about how he lost Uncle Ben, even though Andrew obviously lost Uncle Ben as well. But
And then obviously the first one revolves a lot around Lizard as kind of like the main villain of that
yeah,
movie.
yeah. So
Yep. Which I didn't think Lizard was too bad. I mean, him. I don't know. Just him as
Yep.
he's not one of my top tier Spider-Man villains for sure.
Yep.
He's not up there.
One thing I never really paid attention to in the Toby movies is that Kurt Connors is in there,
Yeah.
Dr. Kurt Connors, and he's actually missing an arm. So he's kind of advising him in the third one to stay away from the Venom symbiote and things like that.
Yep.
So yep, they kept that kind of accurate with having Kurt Connors kind of involved in Oscorp, and then they used him as the main villain in this movie. And I think the main reason they did that is because they didn't want to go stereotypical, I guess, and do like a Green Goblin or a Doc
Yeah.
Ock, like one of the big villains, because they had already kind of did that in Toby's movies. So they kind of wanted to do something different and pull a villain that we weren't accustomed to seeing.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I do. One thing I do want to say about this movie, I do like the way they did the Uncle Ben scene better. I think that might be a kind of a hot take, but I like the way they do Uncle Ben's death a lot better. I just like that they showed how it all played out. I think the comic book accurate, now I could be wrong because I'm not like a big comic book fan, but I'm pretty sure in the comics how they did it in Toby's movies where he's at the wrestling,
Yeah.
the guy runs out and ends up shooting Uncle Ben. I just don't like that they didn't show that. I didn't like how it kind of like flash forward and Toby's just coming down the street. All the people are crowding around and Uncle Ben's basically already dead. I like the way they played it out in Andrew's movie where we saw the guy robbing the convenience store and then coming down the street and Uncle Ben's trying to track down Peter. Andrew's like walking on the other side of the street and he hears him get shot. And then he comes over and I feel like he killed the acting right there where he's laying there bleeding out.
That's the thing though with comics though is there's a ton of different comics. So what is like
Yeah.
comic accurate in that
Exactly.
case?
And in the
Especially
as,
Spider-Man.
as I just kind of described with the movies, where the way they're doing the alternate timelines, like tying them all three together in No Way Home, they're basically just saying, oh yeah, in these different timelines, our lives all play out kind of different, even though we're technically the same person.
Then obviously the first one ends with Captain Stacy dying. They protected Peter.
Yeah. Yep.
Makes that promise, which obviously is a big setup for the second movie as
100%.
well. That comes
Yeah,
back
that's
a
kind of
lot.
what the storyline with Gwen
Yep.
revolves around in the second one.
I will say I do like the suit a lot for sure.
100%, yeah.
In the first and second one because he wears the same one, right? Yeah, he doesn't really make any like huge like upgrades or anything.
I think there was slight tweaks and changes in the second one, and I know that's a popular opinion that the TASM 2 suit is the best suit.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think it's the most comic book accurate, and I think it looks the best. I do like the way they show him getting the spider bite in the first one. I do like that is one comparison to Toby's. I like that scene as well. The way he actually goes to Oscorp, and I love the way Oscorp looks. I think that's super accurate to what it's supposed to look like. And I like that Gwen Stacy's like an intern there, and he's going in there and he goes into that lab where they're like doing the experiments with the spiders and stuff.
Yep.
And then spider drops on him and then he gets the powers. And I like how how his powers start to develop. It was like with Toby, I feel like he just went to sleep and then he woke up the next morning and was just like ripped and just had powers. I like the way they kind of showed the development of that with Andrew, like on the subway and things like that, when the guy like put the bottle on his head and he jumped up and jumped on the ceiling, and then he was kind of freaking out, not knowing what was going on with himself, and he like woke up that next morning and smashed the alarm clock and was like
All of his room.
trying to test his super strength. And then like they were showing his spider sense, like he was tweaking out, like when he was looking around the room and having like those flashes, and he grabbed that fly out of the air when it was flying past Aunt May. So I like the
slow-mo.
way they were showing kind of the development of like the spider taking effects on him, and like his spider senses coming in and like his super strength coming in and things like that. So I do like the way they did that scene with him in the first one. Do you have any we've been saying mostly pros about the first one. Do you have any cons, like anything you really disliked? I don't think there's anything major that I hate about this movie.
Definitely not anything I hate. I think the villain, like I said earlier, is not the best. Like
Yeah, it's a
Lizard.
little
I mean, I
forgettable.
get how they were probably like that, where they wanted to get someone different other than like the big main Spider-Man.
They
villains,
didn't
but-
want to do like a Green Goblin or a Doc Ock again. I think they wanted to do something different. different, like a villain that we hadn't seen before. So kind of out of 10, I think this is a decent movie. I'd probably give it like a 7.
Yep, that's
7.
about what I was about.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I definitely think there's movies and stuff that are worse in the MCU than this movie. I definitely don't think this is like a super bad movie by any means. I mean,
Yeah.
it could have had a little bit more of an engaging story. You did say when we were watching it that you felt like it moved at a fast pace, like it was just quick cutting through some scenes where
Yeah.
it could have stayed there and lingered and developed a little bit
Then
better.
some of the
But
dialogue, I know, I feel like it sometimes was a little like not off, but didn't like flow, I guess, right? Because
yeah.
like some of the like dialogue scenes, like things that he was saying, I don't know, it just didn't really flow to me all that great.
All right, so this one's gonna have a little bit more discussion on it. Is TASM 2, because I like this movie, I think, better than the first one, because I think it has higher highs, but it also has some pretty low lows.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's tough. I might prefer the first one a tiny bit better. I don't know. Just
Really?
after, yeah, because we just rewatched that second one.
I think
I think there's just some points in it that it just didn't like interest me all that much.
I just think there's moments in this movie that are just some of the best moments out of all Spider-Man
Yeah,
movies.
I
in
do
my
think like the
opinion.
opening scene, like we were saying, like
The opening scene where
opening
he's
scene.
chasing the Rhino before he's the Rhino, when
Yep.
he's chasing the truck down. I think the swinging is really strong.
For
I
sure.
love the jokes, or the quipping as they call it.
yeah,
Like
the action too.
I
of
really
it
love
just-
that. Yep, like graduation scene. I think all of that is really strong. I think
Yeah,
the
I think it
relation.
started off really well.
I think his relationship with Gwen is by far the most engaging relationship of the three. Like
Of all of them, like all the
yeah,
relationships,
I
yeah.
don't love Tom's relationship with Zendaya. I just don't think she's like a very engaging version of MJ. Like I just never cared for their relationship that much.
Yeah.
And then I just think Toby and MJ is good, but the thing of that is I just feel like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are just by far a better actor and actress than Toby and Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
Like, I just think they are just such better actors. I think the beginning scenes where he's like kind of reeling over her dad's death and making the promise to keep her out of it.
Yeah.
And I like that dinner scene where she kind of breaks up with him outside the restaurant. Like, I think that was like super powerful.
Yeah, I think a lot of the scenes with Gwen obviously are on a high note for this movie for sure,
Yeah.
on the more positive side.
Yep.
But yeah, kind of getting more into this story of the second movie. For me, a negative of the movie was definitely the villains, or at least the messiness
Yes.
of them. You
Yep.
had Electro, then obviously
Harry.
Harry
Harry
yeah.
just kind of gets shoehorned in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the look of him either. Like when
Correct.
he got like the Green
So-
Goblin powers.
That's probably the biggest negative of this movie for me. It kind of falls victim to Spider-Man 3 in a way. There's just too many cooks in the kitchen, I think, when it comes to
think so,
villains.
yeah.
They've kind of got Rhino sprinkled in there. They've got Electro as the main villain, and they have Harry that just kind of gets shoehorned in there, like I said. And I think it just creates a lot of messiness in the story. So that's kind of my main complaint, besides the dad train station subplot, which we'll kind of get into.
Yeah, that's another the whole dad like
That's the
storyline.
That's the only other like glaring issue I think with the movie. Everything else I think is really strong though.
Yeah, I thought the action and everything was good, the fight choreography and
the cinematics of everything is so good.
yeah, I
in
like
Andrew's
that.
movies.
That was a lot better than what I remember. from the movie.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, his swinging scenes around New York, and it gives such the vibe of New York, like what Spider-Man is supposed to be. That is one thing I'll compliment Toby's over Andrew's, is the Daily Bugle in
Yeah.
Toby's movies, and him being an actual photographer. It's sprinkled in there. Like, I think Tom, we're gonna kind of get that in Brand New Day, obviously, but with Andrew, we got it kind of sprinkled in here in this second one, where he was like he kind of was carrying the camera around here and there, and he was emailing photos over post-graduation to the Daily Bugle, but
Yeah.
we didn't get to see any of J. Jonah Jameson on screen, or we didn't get to see him going to the Bugle at all.
Yeah, at all.
So maybe they would have explored that further in the third one, but I just like how they were kind of doing that off the jump with Toby, and it was in there a lot.
Yeah, it was in all three movies. It's a big part.
My main complaint with this is the villains. That's my two complaints, is I think they could have been casted better, and I think the look or the character design when they're in villain mode, like when Harry shows up at the end as the Green Goblin,
Yeah,
or Electro when he actually becomes Electro.
Yeah.
Because I just think Max being that nerdy character, I just cannot see Jamie Foxx as that.
Yeah,
like
me
I just
neither.
can't take that seriously
I
at
said
all.
that exact same thing
Yep.
we were watching. Yep.
I think they should have picked an actor that we weren't very familiar with to put in that nerdy role, and I think it would have done it more of a justice. And then I do think that in No Way Home, that Jamie Foxx looks a lot better.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that just making him look normal, and then the character design, you mentioned this as we were watching it, when he actually becomes Electro, it looks so much better in No Way Home when he just
The
kind of
yellow.
looks normal human, and the suit he has
Yep.
on and like the yellow lightning bolts and stuff. I just think that looks better than the
All
Avatar,
blue,
yeah,
yeah,
character
like
that we got.
character. That's that was one of the negatives for sure. Is
Straight out
the
Pandora.
design of Green Goblin and then Electro, like you were saying. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just didn't like hit with me for sure.
I don't even know who the guy is that played Harry.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen him ever again, really.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in anything else before or after that, and I just don't think he looks like Harry.
Me
And I
neither.
think even some of his line delivery was kind of off, which is so apparent when the line delivery from like Andrew Garfield or Emma Stone is so strong.
Mhm.
It's just like when he delivers lines, it's just not as powerful as it should be.
Then the whole
Um,
like how he came into the movie, like he just like, oh, my best friend, I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, just that whole
They
storyline
didn't
didn't
give
hit.
enough backstory on where he was at. Like he did say that because obviously they've got Norman Osborn dying from the beginning here in
Yep.
Andrew's storyline, and he never becomes the Green Goblin.
You kind of see it a little bit, him like green on the bed, and then his like
Yeah, he's
fingernails.
got the long ass nails.
But yeah, you never saw him actually fight.
I guess Harry's not even technically the Hobgoblin because you kind of have to have a Green Goblin first to have a
Yeah,
Hobgoblin.
he's the Green Goblin. Yeah.
So, I don't mind them introducing Harry. I like that we've got a Harry Osborn. I don't mind, I guess, the angle of like having his dad die and him having the same disease necessarily.
Yeah.
My only problem is I just hate that he shows up as the Green Goblin so quickly at the end. Like, I think they could have sprinkled him throughout the movie and they could have given us
Tease that.
more of a detailed past. Because, like, I don't even think they mentioned it in there. When did him and Peter meet? Obviously, they said they had met like 10 years prior before he went off to boarding school or
England,
whatever.
boarding school. Yeah, he said he was all over.
Yeah, but like, where did they meet? Because if Harry was like some rich kid in a private school, like, how did they grow up together?
Yeah.
Because obviously they were trying to say that they had related to each other, or I guess because their dads work together. It's probably
True.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe they were like, take your child to work day and they were running around together. But I feel like they could have done justice by showing like maybe some flashback scenes
Of
of
them,
them
like, younger.
running around as kids or something, or I don't know. Like I feel like they needed to develop that relationship a little bit more to get us to care about Harry.
Exactly. That's how
Yep.
I felt.
From the jump in Toby's movies, we see him at the beginning, like before he even becomes Spider-Man, him and Harry are already friends.
Yeah,
at
and I
school
felt like
things
that
that.
relationship was a lot stronger. I think obviously like James Franco's a good actor and everything, but yeah, I just felt like on screen they definitely meshed
They
better.
just meshed better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there are some moments that are kind of compelling. Like I think when he goes down into the special projects level and he gets the, I guess, spider venom and he kind of injects himself and starts
Yep.
turning into the Green Goblin. I think they could have maybe kind of cut it off there. I
that
feel
could have
they-
been like the post-credit scene.
Right. I feel like they could have found a place to cut it there to just plant the seed. Or like even when he first went down there and he was walking around and it was showing that Oscorp had developed like military technology,
Yeah.
like the Doc Ock arms and like the
Vulture wings.
and they had developed like the Rhino suit and then obviously the Green Goblin suit. They could have shown that to like plant some seeds of like, oh, this is where we could be taking it in the future with like maybe a third or a fourth movie, like with future movies. But no, they just force him into the Green Goblin and then he just shows up at the end for the final battle. I think the Times Square fight with Electro is really good.
Yep.
And I think him saving people like with his spider sense and all the slow-mo and stuff, I think all those are really good moments. I think the final battle with Electro is really good, like at the power grid.
At the
He's
power
doing
grid,
like
yep.
the itsy bitsy spider, like tossing him around. I think that's a really strong point. So yeah, I feel like we could have ended it there and not had Harry just fly in. Because it's like he pretty much just flies in to kill Gwen and that's
Pretty
it.
much, yeah.
Yep. So and he doesn't die or anything. We obviously see him at the end of the movie.
He was in prison,
Yeah,
right?
he
Or,
was like,
yeah.
yeah. Yep, he was like in a jail cell.
Or no, he was at that psych ward, like that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ravencroft
Yep.
facility.
Yep, so they had him captured and in prison there. And he was obviously setting up the Sinister Six.
Yeah, definitely. They were
I don't
teasing
even know who that guy was that came in. I thought maybe that was like a Doc Ock at the end. But he comes in, he's got like a little fedora on. They don't really show his face. They got him blacked out.
Yeah, but apparently he's like gentleman in the comics, or like he's some like guy that kind of runs like the Sinister Six, or has like a part in that
He's the
for
Nick
sure.
Fury of the
Yeah.
Sinister Six. But other than that, my other big complaint is just the whole subplot with his dad. I do kind of like the mystery involved in the disappearance of his parents and how they're kind of addressing that and choosing to give that some sort of life or some sort of storyline. With him, I know people always complain about it, the whole sequence, the for you, the
That's
little music montage.
him
Yeah.
like putting all the stuff on the wall,
Yeah, that's
pictures, and
just so
trying to
random.
figure it out.
Yep, and then he throws the calculator at the wall and the doubloons fly out of it, the little
Yeah.
like random ass coins, and he takes them to the train station and unlocks that like secret lab. I do like him investigating kind of what happened with his dad, but
Yeah.
that was just such a random scene.
Yeah,
Like
that's a
it's
whole subplot for me. It just didn't like hit
just
right. It
didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my other big complaint. That's just such a random scene. I just don't enjoy that at all. The biggest moment of the movie is at the end when
Yeah.
Gwen dies. That was like, I remember growing up watching that for the first time. I could not believe that actually happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Because you think all these movies, they always save them last second.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I just, I love the way the web is coming down all slow-mo and it's like a hand opening up, trying to come grab her. God, the way her back smacks against the ground as
Yep.
the web catches her. Like,
I like how too
golly.
it was in like that fast motion, like quick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
Wh-
just slow mo the whole time.
Yeah. When
Yep,
when
it actually
she
showed it.
dies, it speeds up. Yeah. That was so crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel like Andrew just bodied the acting right there. How like the emotional like panic in his voice as he's holding her and
Yeah.
then her nose starts to bleed and he just starts to cry. Like, God, he just bodied
Yeah,
that.
he's a very good actor
Like
for sure.
give him the Oscar for that one. Yep, I remember growing up, I thought that was like so powerful. And I thought that was so bold for them to actually kill Gwen like that. Like I didn't think they would actually do that because obviously they plant the seed that that's the obvious thing that's going to happen at the end of the first one where Captain Stacy tells him like keep my daughter out of it.
Yeah.
We need to keep her safe. So you're thinking like, oh, they're going to find a way to date and make it work. Maybe she'll like have a situation like this where she'll need to be saved and he'll end up saving her last
Yeah,
second.
like
And
they
it'll be
always do.
and it'll be like a close call and she'll live. But man, the boldness to just kill her at the end of the second one, like I thought that was so great. I love the like risk of that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the best scenes for sure. If
Yeah.
not, it's probably the best scene out
Yep.
of the two movies too.
God, and then the ending, the funeral scene where they're at the graveyard, and I always love that shot of how the shot is kind of changing, but it's the shot of him from the side, like
Yep.
just staring at the grave. He's standing in the same spot, but it's like the seasons changing and his outfit changing. I just
Yep.
thought that was
He's
so
just always there.
Yep, I just thought that was so powerful. God, one small complaint we were talking about in Toby's movies and in these. Why are the fans always standing so close like they're watching UFC?
Those
They're-
other people are like 100 yards away.
Or literally Rhino, not even. Like Rhino is in the middle of the road shooting like LMGs and they're just standing at the
Yeah, people
railings
are
like,
just like-
Spider-Man swings in and they're like cheering. It's like, bro, we're watching UFC. And then that kid obviously was close enough to run out there.
That
The kid
scene
that
was
he-
kind of corny to me. I mean, I
Where-
get like the point of it, like just
Yeah.
showing like people like with Spider-Man, but
I feel like they were trying to redo Iron Man 2, where the kid had the helmet on, he like put his hand up,
Yeah.
and the Iron Man lands behind him. He's like, "Nice shot, kid." And he like flies off. So I feel like they were trying to do that. I do like the scene earlier in the movie where he's kind of like good neighborhood Spider-Man, where he like gets the bullies to run off and he like
fixes that
and-
project.
and walks him home. There's moments like that that are just great in this movie where they're super comic book accurate. Like I think he is the best Spider-Man by far. Overall rating out of 10, what do you give the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I give it a 7 out of 10, just like the first one. I
7
think they're
out of
both
10.
about the same level.
Yep, I give it like a 7.5 out of 10. I give the first one a 7 and I give this one a 7.5. I think the first one's a little bit more cleaner cut. I think this one is a little bit more messy, kind of the same issues as Spider-Man 3, but I think this one has some really high highs. Like I think he's got the best suit, the best swinging scenes. I think his relationship with Gwen is so strong. The boldness to kill her off at the end of the movie I thought was so good. Yeah, I just love the emotion and I think he's the best actor out of him, Toby and Tom for sure.
Yep.
And I think Gwen Stacy is the best female counterpart to him out of
All the three.
him, Toby, and Tom, 100%. Alrighty, guys, that is going to be it for our re-review or our revisit of Andrew's Amazing Spider-Man movies. We appreciate you guys watching. Come back next week for more content. Leave a thumbs up down below. We appreciate you. Peace.